Hi, I'm Bryan with Pioneer Builders.
And I'm Tim with Pioneer Builders and Awesome Framers.
Welcome to the Build Show. Today we're going to talk about the installation of a SlopeShield product. This is part 2 in our series about the drive-in garage over the living space. Let's get into some of the details. Okay, just a recap on where we're at for today. We installed the SlopeShield Plus SA. SA is short for self-adhered, so if you're looking at materials, you know what that actually means. Another thing I didn't cover in the last video is if you're doing a mass timber project, think about this product because it allows water vapor to pass through, but it's watertight. Watch the first video. I get way more into the details, but the purpose of this is to talk about installation. So I got to be Timmy's helper. We did this together, but he's the guy whose bag's on.
It's Big T.
Big T is bags on, apparently, and that's what he'll be known as. Not Tom from Oregon, Steve. Okay, so the first thing you have to think about is preparation before you lay this down. So, Timmy, what did you do in preparation beforehand?
So this floor was actually framed about 4 months ago, so it got quite wet. That means all of the sawdust is caked into all of the seams. So what we did is we blew off the floor, then we broomed it, and then we went through with our knives, speed squares, chisels, and we cleaned out the grooves, and we blew it all off before. We didn't want any dust on the subfloor.
Now, this particular product can be used on top of a variety of substrates. This is wood. Is there anything about nail heads or what have you that we should be thinking about?
Yeah, to me it's a little bit like prepping for hardwood. You know, make sure there's no proud nail heads. I went through and double checked that all the seams actually were nailed, that all the joists, that it was properly fastened, and I did find a couple spots that apparently we missed. So it's just like the normal prep that you would do. Make sure all the fastening is done, and then make sure it's super clean and no proud nail heads.
Awesome. All right, so then we talked about how we were actually going to do the layout. Do you run it horizontally? How does it wrap up the sides? We probably spent about an hour just kind of figuring some of this stuff out.
That included reading the instructions, though.
We did read the instructions. The instructions come with the box, but it's got a QR code. Thankfully, I had already printed them out, so that was very helpful. We're going to have a topping slab on here, so you do want to know a little bit about what the top plane of that slab is going to be. So the bottom, the underside is flat, but we want to have a little bit of slope to the floor. So what we did to get started is we just snapped a line 12 inches across the back, and we're going to have 6 inches of concrete in the back, tapering down to 4 inches in the front. So we wanted to run this nice and high, and that's how we established our first line, and then we went from there for the installation. Now, it's self-adhered, and you might wonder how much adhesion is there actually to it. So Timmy, how would you describe the adhesion in relation to like a Sega product or stretch tape from Huber Zip, something like that?
So you can see, like it sticks to my fingers. Just that, right? And I can, in fact, let go. I can pull that and I have to peel it off. So it's sticky enough, but not too sticky. Because the roll is so tall, you want to be able to reposition it. So what we did is we set the first one in 12 inches up, and then we used just one of the seams on the subfloor as our straight line, rolled it out, and then came back up. A couple times, I don't know, maybe at least once per row, we ended up just kind of shifting it because we wanted our lines to be nice and straight. But I mean, it sticks well enough. Mm-hmm. It's not like it's going to just, it's not a one and done where it's down, too late, we just got to go with it. But you can pick it up and reposition it. So, I mean, as I'm looking at it, I can see the adhesive coming right up off my finger.
Yeah. So there's different levels of adhesive or adhesion depending on what the materials that you're working with. The release paper wasn't the easiest thing to take off at the beginning, but by the second or third, we had it figured out. It's kind of interesting. I don't know if this analogy will make sense, but if you ever put a round Band-Aid on and you take the release paper off at the same time as it's against your skin, it naturally ends up bonding a little bit to your skin. That's basically what Timmy ended up doing, is he would walk out pulling the release paper, and it would lay down on the floor. But then there was another step that we had to do, and that's where this guy comes in. So, Timmy, Tell us about this.
Okay, so the thing is that this literally just picks up off the floor. It's not so sticky that it just automatically adheres to the wood. You definitely have to come walking through. And so what we found is going across and then overlapping slightly, pretty much all of the bubbles came right out of it. You could see that where it was flat, we still had liner. Mm-hmm. It picked up the texture of the panel. You know, you can even see that now.
And what this is it's a vinyl roller. So if you were a flooring contractor, you're going to see this and be super familiar with it. But it is like, what is this? The J-roller on steroids. You're used to hearing Timmy always talk about with the zip system, always roll your tape. Well, this is rolling the self-adhered membrane that's, 59 inches by 150, or I can't remember.
Something, yeah.
In any case, it covers about 500 square feet of material. What this does is that adhesive presses into all of those little voids to help it to stick even more so. So it's kind of a nice product in that you have some workability to begin with, and then you come back and use this. Timmy and I were installing simultaneously, or he was rolling it out while I was using this to roll, and that part didn't take too terribly long.
I would say that there's one, hold that if you don't mind. I would say that there's one other thing about this is if you've ever installed house wrap, if it's windy, it just blows away. This, there's enough like stiffness to it. It almost reminded me when we did that, that vinyl at your place for the sound deadening.
The mass-loaded vinyl.
Yeah, where it's stiff enough that we can position it straight. I don't think it would have taken a lot of wind to actually come through here and blow it off as we were installing it. So I don't know about you, I just didn't find that it wanted to wrinkle, and it wasn't so like light that it just got away from us.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward. But it wasn't so heavy like ice and water, where, I mean, that's not that heavy for a framer. For a framer.
And also of note is that this is for construction traffic. So that's part of why this is a little bit more durable, is because it's not intended that it's going to be exposed and then immediately you have to put something over the top of it.
So the idea is, right, if it's on mass timber or cross-laminated wood, we're trying to keep that dry during construction. So it needs to stand up to the abuse of construction.
Yep, exactly. And then you'd still be able to have that water vapor escape as need be. One other thing about this, it was a friend of ours who let us borrow it, which was really kind of him. And it weighs anywhere from 75 to 100 pounds. I should probably just step on it.
It's 100 pounds.
Okay, Timmy says it's 100 pounds. So pretty heavy product. Now the 80-20 rule does kind of come into play here. Working throughout the field takes about 80% of the time, and then there was detailed work around the edges. Make sure when you're doing your materials ordering that you figure out your square footage of coverage. But remember, we came up 12 inches in the back. You're probably going to come up your sides. You also want to have some waist.
And we got, what, 3-inch overlap?
3-inch overlap, and mistakes happen. So you might actually maybe have a run that gets so gummed up or something happens or you cut something wrong. So if you're like a do-it-yourself homeowner and you're not used to thinking in terms of that, think about your rolls. You might even draw out in advance what you want your layout to be. But what you don't want is to order your material, maybe it's even special order, you pay shipping on that, and then all of a sudden you need to pick up one more roll, and it changes rates or something. You want to make sure you have enough, and maybe even a little left over. That's better than being too short. Well, anything that you'd say in wrapping up this particular topic, Timmy? Any other experience that you had?
No, I mean, it's easy to work with. Just speaking to the 80-20 rule, get most of your work done, and whatever's left on your rolls, you know, I don't know if I should have done this, but then I could cut with the beam saw and just roll the roll, cut these to length.
Yeah.
So the edge stuff, you know, if I only need like a 16-inch piece, I don't have to waste an entire roll. Cut a 16-inch piece and fold it up the wall.
Yeah, good tip, good tip. The corners can always be a little bit tricky, so this may not be sanctioned, but maybe you use some liquid flash in the corners. VaporShield does have other tapes, or at least one other tape. I'm just not super familiar with it, but maybe that would be another product, or maybe they have a stretch product, just to get into those corners. But that's the high-level overview and maybe some of the weeds on installing this. next video, we're going to talk about the actual frame structure on this deck. Thanks for watching. Give him a follow. Awesome Framers. He's on YouTube and Instagram.
And TikTok.
And TikTok.
And TikTok.
Yes. And I'm primarily on Pioneer Builders, Inc. You know me on The Build Show, though. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.